When Marcus begged the bank for money to save his dying daughter, they said no. The woman behind him looked ordinary, but she was worth billions. What she did next changed everything forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus Williams stood in the marble lobby of First National Bank, his worn shoes squeaking slightly against the polished floor. His calloused hands gripped a manila folder containing every document he could gather: pay stubs, tax returns, medical bills, and a letter from his daughter's doctor. The fluorescent light seemed too bright, making his tired eyes water as he approached the loan officer's desk. "Mr. Williams?" A stern-faced woman in a crisp blue suit looked up from her computer screen. "I'm Sandra Mitchell, loan officer. Please have a seat." Marcus sat down carefully, placing his folder on the desk between them. "Thank you for seeing me, Ms. Mitchell. I know you're busy, but I really need this loan. My daughter Emma, she's only 8 and she needs surgery. The doctors say we can't wait much longer." Sandra's expression remained cold as she opened his file. "Mr. Williams, I've reviewed your application. You work as a janitor at the community center, correct? Your annual income is quite low. And I see here you've had some late payments on your credit cards last year." "Yes, ma'am, but those were because Emma was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I had to take unpaid leave to be with her. She doesn't have anyone else. Her mother passed away 3 years ago from cancer." Marcus's voice cracked slightly. "I've been making all my payments on time since then. I work extra shifts whenever I can." Sandra barely glanced up from the papers. "Mr. Williams, this is a business, not a charity. You're asking for $50,000 with minimal collateral and poor credit history. The bank simply cannot approve this loan. It's too risky. Please, Ms. Mitchell. Emma needs this surgery. Without it, the doctors say, they say she might not make it to her 9th birthday." Marcus leaned forward, his eyes pleading. "I'm willing to work any number of hours. I can get a second job, a third job if needed. I just need someone to believe in me." "I'm sorry, Mr. Williams, but the answer is no. The computer algorithm flags your application as high risk, and I cannot override that decision. You might want to try a medical charity or start a fundraising campaign online." Sandra closed his file with a snap. "Is there anything else I can help you with today?" Marcus felt his world crumbling. He had spent weeks gathering courage to apply for this loan, believing that his steady employment and desperate need would be enough. There has to be something. Some other option. Emma is everything to me. She's all I have left. "Mr. Williams, I understand your situation is difficult, but banks have regulations. We cannot make emotional decisions. Perhaps you should consider other arrangements for your daughter's care." Sandra's tone was dismissive, almost cruel. Behind Marcus, a woman in simple jeans and a plain white t-shirt had been listening to the entire conversation. She wore no jewelry except for a modest watch, and her graying hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. To anyone looking, she appeared to be just another ordinary customer waiting in line. But Catherine Hayes was far from ordinary. At 62, she was the founder and CEO of Hayes Industries, a technology empire worth over $3 billion. She had built her company from nothing, starting in her garage 30 years ago. Despite her wealth, she had never forgotten her humble beginnings or the kindness of strangers who had helped her along the way. Catherine had come to the bank to handle some routine business matters, but Marcus's story had captured her complete attention. She watched as his shoulders sagged with defeat, saw the way his hands trembled as he gathered his papers. "Ms. Mitchell," Catherine stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "I couldn't help but overhear. Did you just deny this man a loan for his daughter's surgery?" Sandra looked up with annoyance. "Ma'am, this is a private conversation. Please wait your turn." "I'm Catherine Hayes," she said simply, placing her platinum banking card on the desk. "I believe you know who I am." Sandra's face went pale as she recognized the name and saw the exclusive card that indicated unlimited banking privileges. "Miss Hayes, I didn't recognize you. How can I help you today?" "You can start by explaining why you just denied Mr. Williams his loan with such coldness. Did you even consider the human element of his situation?" Sandra stammered, "Well, Miss Hayes, his credit score is below our minimum requirements, and his income doesn't support the loan amount. Bank policy clearly states." "Bank policy," Catherine interrupted, "should have room for compassion. This man is trying to save his daughter's life, and you treated him like he was asking for money to buy a luxury car." Marcus stood frozen, unsure what was happening but afraid to hope. Catherine turned to him. "Mr. Williams, what exactly does your daughter need?" She has a rare heart condition, Marcus explained, his voice barely above a whisper. The surgery costs $50,000 and our insurance only covers part of it. The doctors at Children's Hospital say she needs it within the next month, or what? Catherine asked gently. Or she'll die. The words came out broken and Marcus covered his face with his hands. Catherine felt her heart break. She thought of her own childhood, growing up poor with a single mother who worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. She remembered being that desperate, that scared. Ms. Mitchell, Catherine said, her voice now carrying the authority of someone used to making billion-dollar decisions. I want you to approve Mr. Williams' loan immediately. But Ms. Hayes, the bank's risk assessment. I'll personally guarantee the loan. If Mr. Williams defaults, which I highly doubt he will, I'll cover the full amount plus interest. Is that acceptable risk management for you? Sandra's hands flew over her keyboard. Of course, Ms. Hayes. I can process this immediately. Mr. Williams, congratulations, your loan has been approved. Marcus looked up in disbelief. I don't understand. Who are you? Why would you help a complete stranger? Catherine smiled warmly. Sometimes we all need someone to believe in us, Mr. Williams. 30 years ago, I was in a situation not unlike yours. A stranger helped me when no one else would, and I promised myself I'd pay that kindness forward whenever I could. But I don't even know how to thank you. This is my daughter's life you're saving. You don't need to thank me. Just take care of Emma and be the father I can see you already are. Catherine pulled out her business card. This has my personal number. I want you to call me and let me know how the surgery goes. As they walked out of the bank together, Marcus was still in shock. Miss Hayes, I have to ask, what made you step in? You could have just minded your own business. Catherine paused at the bank's entrance. Marcus, may I call you Marcus? When I was 25, I had a small computer repair business that was failing. I needed a loan to keep it going, but every bank turned me down. I was a young woman with no credit and big dreams, and no one believed in me. She continued, I was at my lowest point when an elderly man overheard me crying in a coffee shop after my final loan rejection. He didn't know me, but he wrote me a check for $10,000. He said, sometimes all we need is someone to believe in us. That money saved my business, and eventually my business became Hayes Industries. Marcus was amazed. You mean Hayes Industries, the technology company? You're that Catherine Hayes. I am. And that elderly man's kindness didn't just save my business. It taught me that wealth means nothing if you don't use it to help others. I never got to repay him because he passed away 2 years later, but I've tried to honor his memory by helping others the way he helped me. They reached the parking lot, where Catherine's driver was waiting with a modest sedan. Not the luxury car Marcus expected. Marcus, I want you to promise me something, Catherine said. When Emma is healthy and grown up, when you're in a position to help someone else, I want you to remember this day. Help someone who needs it, just like that stranger helped me and just like I'm helping you. I promise, Marcus said, tears streaming down his face. I promise I'll never forget this. 2 weeks later, Emma Williams was wheeled into surgery at Children's Hospital. The operation took 6 hours, but it was successful. When she woke up, the first thing she saw was her father's smiling face. Daddy, did the surgery work? She asked weakly. Yes, sweetheart. The doctors say you're going to be completely healthy. You're going to live a long, beautiful life. How did we pay for it, Daddy? I know we didn't have enough money. Marcus took his daughter's small hand in his. An angel helped us, Emma. A real-life angel. Catherine visited Emma in the hospital 3 days later, bringing flowers and a teddy bear. Emma's face lit up when she saw her. Are you the angel Lady Daddy told me about? Catherine laughed. I'm just a friend, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Much better. The doctors say I can go home soon, and that I can play soccer next year. Emma's excitement was infectious. That's wonderful news. Your daddy tells me you're very smart and that you love to read. I do. I want to be a doctor someday so I can help other kids like me. Catherine exchanged a meaningful look with Marcus. That's a beautiful dream, Emma. And you know what? I believe you'll make it come true. As months passed, Emma recovered completely. Marcus continued working at the community center, but something had changed in him. The kindness he had received had awakened something deep inside, a desire to help others the way he had been helped. He started small. When he saw a homeless man outside the grocery store, instead of walking past, he bought him a meal. When a coworker couldn't afford her son's school supplies, Marcus quietly purchased them. When the community center needed volunteers for their after-school program, Marcus signed up immediately. Catherine kept in touch, calling every few months to check on Emma's health and progress. She was delighted to hear about Marcus's volunteer work and Emma's excellent grades. 1 year after the surgery, Catherine invited Marcus and Emma to visit Hayes Industries headquarters. Emma was amazed by the towering glass building and the bustling offices filled with computers and innovative technology. "Miss Catherine," Emma said as they toured the facility, "Daddy says you help lots of people. Is that true?" "I try to, Emma. When you have been blessed with success, it's important to share those blessings with others. I want to do that too when I grow up. I want to help people like you helped us." Catherine knelt down to Emma's level. "You know what, Emma? I think you're going to help even more people than I ever could. You have something special. You understand what it's like to need help, and that will make you an even better helper." 3 years later, Marcus received a call that would change everything again. Catherine was opening a new community center in their neighborhood and wanted Marcus to be the director. The job came with a substantial salary increase and full benefits. "Miss Hayes, I don't understand. I'm just a janitor. I don't have the qualifications to run a community center." "Marcus, you have the most important qualification there is: you care about people. You've proven that over the past 3 years with your volunteer work. Besides, we'll provide all the training you need." Marcus accepted the position, and under his leadership, the Hayes Community Center became a beacon of hope in the neighborhood. He established programs for single parents, started a scholarship fund for local students, and created a support group for families dealing with medical crises. Emma, now 12 and completely healthy, volunteered at the center every weekend. She tutored younger children and helped organize fundraising events. Her dream of becoming a doctor remained strong, and Catherine had quietly set up a college fund to ensure Emma could pursue her education. 5 years after that fateful day at the bank, Marcus stood before a crowded auditorium at the annual Hayes Foundation Charity Gala. Catherine had invited him to speak about the center's work. "5 years ago, I was a desperate man who had been rejected by a bank, turned away when I needed help most for my dying daughter," Marcus began, his voice strong and clear. "I thought my world was ending. But then a stranger stepped forward. Not because she had to, but because she chose to care." The audience listened intently as Marcus continued. "Catherine Hayes didn't just save my daughter's life that day. She saved mine too. She showed me that kindness isn't just about money, it's about seeing the humanity in others and choosing to act on that recognition." He gestured toward the community center staff seated in the audience. "Today, the Hayes Community Center has helped over 500 families. We've provided scholarships to 50 students, supported 30 single parents through crisis situations, and created a network of care that extends throughout our community. None of this would have existed without one woman's decision to step forward when she could have easily walked away." Marcus paused, looking directly at Catherine, who was wiping tears from her eyes. "But the most important thing I learned is that kindness multiplies. When someone shows you compassion, it doesn't end with you, it flows through you to others. Every person we've helped at the center has gone on to help someone else. That's the real magic of what happened that day at the bank." The audience rose in thunderous applause as Catherine joined Marcus on stage. She hugged him tightly, then took the microphone. "Marcus Williams represents everything I believe about the power of human potential," she said. "When I met him, I saw a devoted father who was willing to do anything for his child. Today, I see a community leader who has touched hundreds of lives. The loan I guaranteed 5 years ago was the best investment I ever made, not because of the financial return, but because of the human return." She turned to Marcus. "You've kept your promise to help others, and you've exceeded every expectation I had. Thank you for showing all of us what's possible when we lift each other up." Emma, now 16 and preparing for college, joined them on stage. She had grown into a confident young woman with her father's kind heart and her mother's determination. "I want to say something," Emma said, taking the microphone. "When I was 8 years old, I almost died. I was saved not just by surgery, but by the kindness of a stranger who saw my father's desperation and chose to act. Miss Catherine, you didn't just give us money, you gave us hope, dignity, and a future." Emma's voice grew stronger. "I'm starting pre-med next year, and I plan to become a pediatric surgeon. But I'm also starting my own foundation to help families like mine, families who fall through the cracks, who need someone to believe in them. I'm calling it the Second Chance Foundation because everyone deserves a second chance at life, at hope, at dignity." The audience erupted again, and Catherine couldn't contain her tears. She had come full circle, from a desperate young entrepreneur saved by a stranger's kindness, to a billionaire who chose to pay it forward, to witnessing the next generation carry the torch of compassion even further. As the evening wound down, Marcus, Catherine, and Emma stood together on the balcony overlooking the city lights. "Do you ever think about that day at the bank?" Emma asked. "Every day," Marcus replied. "It was the day our lives truly began." Catherine smiled. "You know, I never told you the name of the man who helped me 30 years ago. His name was Robert Williams. He was your grandfather, Marcus." Marcus stared at her in shock. "What? That's impossible. I did some research after I met you." Robert Williams, retired school principal, helped a young woman named Catherine Hayes in 1995. He died 2 years later, but not before he told his son about the importance of helping others. "That son was your father, who raised you to be the caring man you became." Marcus sat down heavily, overwhelmed by the revelation. "So when you helped me, you were actually repaying a debt to my own grandfather?" "No, Marcus. I was continuing a legacy that your family started. Your grandfather's kindness didn't just save my business. It created a ripple effect that has now helped thousands of people. And through Emma's foundation, it will help thousands more." Emma looked out at the city lights, thinking about all the families out there who might be facing their own desperate moments. "It's amazing how one act of kindness can echo through generations." "That's the power of compassion," Catherine said. "It never truly ends. It just keeps flowing from one person to another, creating an endless river of hope." Marcus put his arm around his daughter. "Emma, do you understand what this means? The kindness that saved our family started with your great-grandfather. We're not just recipients of charity, we're part of a legacy of caring that spans generations. And now it's our responsibility to make sure that legacy continues," Emma replied with determination. 10 years later, Dr. Emma Williams performed her first life-saving surgery on a young boy whose family couldn't afford the operation. The Second Chance Foundation covered the costs, just as Catherine Hayes had covered Emma's surgery years earlier. Marcus, now in his 50s, had expanded the Hayes Community Center network to 5 locations across the state. He had personally helped over 1,000 families navigate crisis situations, always remembering the day he sat in that bank, desperate and defeated. Catherine, approaching her 80s but still sharp and engaged, served as the honorary chairwoman of the Second Chance Foundation. She had lived to see her act of kindness multiply into a movement that had helped tens of thousands of people. The bank where it all started had closed years earlier, replaced by a small park with a bench dedicated to the power of human kindness. On warm afternoons, Marcus would sit on that bench with his grandchildren, telling them the story of how one woman's decision to care had changed everything. "Remember," he would tell them, "kindness is never weakness. It's the strongest force in the world because it has the power to transform not just the person receiving it, but the person giving it and everyone who witnesses it. When you see someone who needs help, you have a choice. You can walk away or you can step forward and change the world." And in that simple lesson, passed from grandfather to son to daughter to grandchildren, the legacy continued. The kindness that began with Robert Williams' generosity to a young entrepreneur had grown into something beautiful and lasting, proof that one moment of compassion can indeed echo through eternity, touching lives in ways we may never fully comprehend. The story that started with rejection and desperation had become a testament to the power of human connection, the importance of believing in each other, and the truth that we are all just one act of kindness away from changing someone's world forever.